The Eagles have found their next superstar as a stud defensive player in the secondary has put on an absolute clinic dating back to last year, and his contributions are what will drive this team to another deep playoff run this season. We'll break down what this player has done and more on another edition of Eagles Digest. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Eagles Digest to give you guys everything surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles, they're getting ready for this big NFC conference matchup against the Detroit Lions. We're going to have so much coverage for you on this channel revolving that matchup, but I'm going to talk about a little bit about this Eagles defense and wanted to give you guys a little insight on this particular player. But before we get into this video, we're currently at 1,005 subscribers on the channel. So if you're tuning into this video and you haven't subscribed to this channel, better hit that subscribe button. It is free, as well as comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on everything surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles and how they can get this big conference win against the Detroit Lions Sunday night. But getting right into this video, as we talk about the cornerback one of the Philadelphia Eagles, Quinyon Mitchell. And dating back to the 2024 NFL draft, we knew that the Eagles had to get somebody in the cornerback room. We obviously know that cornerbacks are kind of like they're not a position where you can just draft someone and they'll automatically be a star. Sometimes it takes like a couple years. Sometimes it's just like something where you're drafting this guy and he's developing and it's a crapshoot. It sometimes sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, it was very apparent from his first couple games in the 2024 season that Quinyon Mitchell was going to be the future, one of the best young corners in the NFL and the best corner on this Eagles defense. And what an absolute steal from Howie Roseman, getting him at pick 22 in the 2024 draft. He has been everything the Eagles have wanted and more. And looking into his 2025 season so far, it has been so much fun to look at what he's been able to do. Per Next Gen Stats, Philadelphia Eagles cornerback Quinyon Mitchell is allowing a 49% completion percentage against and ranks second behind only Patrick Surtain in the NFL in average separation when targeted this season. And this is something for Quinyon Mitchell, being one of the best corners in the NFL and being mentioned in the same breath as Patrick Surtain, who was drafted in 2021 and is now a former defensive player of the year, reigning defensive player of the year, and has been the top of the top, the cream of the crop of the cornerback position in the NFL. So Quinyon Mitchell, very, very still underrated in his game. Not a lot of people talk about him in the whole NFL. They obviously talk about Pat Surtain and other, really good corners, but Quinyon Mitchell is making a name for himself, and he's been making a name for himself ever since he came out of college. And, to talk a little bit more about Quinyon and what he has been able to do, he came from Toledo, which is a FBS school, a school that people didn't really know about, didn't know that they could produce NFL ready talent. Well, the Eagles were like, we're going to make sure that we can get this guy in our defense. Vic Fangio obviously wanted to get somebody who would be very aggressive against other wide receivers, and to be able to have him to translate to the NFL and being one of the top 3 corners in the NFL just in his second season is so paramount to what Howie Roseman and Vic Fangio have done over their careers. He's a very sticky corner. We saw in that Green Bay Packers game that he was just on Christian Watson, all of the other wide receivers, Wicks, Romeo Dobbs. He was just on them and just not letting them get any separation. And that is huge for an Eagles corner. And he doesn't really get as much respect as people may perceive that he does, being in Philadelphia. But, looking at what he has a PFF grade, he's the 27th ranked corner in all of football, 68.7 grade. He has a 528 snap count, so he's played a lot of snaps for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's dealt with some injuries. He's dealt with a hamstring injury when he got that suffered in the New York Giants game. He kind of went down a little bit in the Packers game, but he was able to get back out there. So he is very tough. He's very tough mentally, very tough physically, and he is going to want to be on the field at all times. And, dating back to the 2024 season, this was something where Quinyon Mitchell, we didn't know really what to expect from him, thought that he could be a solid corner piece behind Darius Slay. Well, he took that and he took that cornerback one spot right away. Being able to be against one of the top, wide receivers in Drake London, all of these other guys. Quinyanamo Bay made the headlines in Philadelphia, knowing that he could shut down these corners, reminding people of Revis Island, just being able to go up against really tough receivers like Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. It goes on and on and on. George Pickens with Pittsburgh and Puka Nacua with the Los Angeles Rams. Just a bunch of these guys he was able to lock down and really have offensive coordinators in a panic because they weren't allowing their top wide receiver to get any sort of yards, any sort of separation, and he really did so well. Looking at what was his best trait, it definitely was coverage, especially in the back end of that playoffs. He really had a great postseason when leading to coverage. 72 grade against the Green Bay Packers, 70 grade against the Los Angeles Rams. I think one of his best games in his whole career against the Washington Commanders, 80 grade with coverage, as well as an 80 grade on defense. And then in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs, had a 69.9 rating against Kansas City. So he was able to really step up his game when it mattered most. And I think that's something that we all look at Quinyon Mitchell as being one of the best corners in the NFL, and it's just because of that. This was also from Patrick Ruffino at Fansided, pointing out that he's also been targeted more this season, 17.8% compared to his rookie campaign at 14.1%. His 2025 season continues to possibly be one of the Eagles' best in the secondary, with only allowing 25 receptions on 55 pass attempts per Pro Football Focus. Additionally, Mitchell's passer rating against him at 60.3 is the lowest among cornerbacks who have played over 500 defensive snaps. And this is a guy who, from looking at his 2025 season, he is playing at an all-pro level right now. He is getting in that conversation for being a first-team All-Pro in his second season. People were talking about him being the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. Obviously, Jared Verse won it, but he was in that conversation along with Cooper DeJean being one of the best corners in the NFL, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. Looking at what he's been able to do so far in 2025, his best game, regular season game of his career, was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he was able to lock up Emeka Egbuka in Tampa Bay. 89.9 defensive rating, 79 with run defense, 78 with tackling, and 88.9 on coverage. That was phenomenal from Quinyon Mitchell. He was all over the ball. He wasn't letting any receivers get any separation, making big time plays, and also getting up in the face of Baker Mayfield. Just really feeling himself that game, knowing that he was going to not let anybody get past him. And I think that's moving to what the Eagles were against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that Buccaneers were a thorn in the Eagles' side. They owned the Eagles up to that point. Quinyon Mitchell knew that, and he knew that he was brought here to really do well and do good in those big games. Well, Tampa Bay, he acted like he was on that 2023 team going up against Tampa Bay and really showing out. And looking at what he's been able to do the rest of the way from Denver all the way to Green Bay, had a great game against the Green Bay Packers. The only thing that I'm seeing from 2025 that is a negative is his tackling and run defense have regressed from his rookie campaign. He is being targeted a little bit more, as saying 17% in comparison to 14% in his rookie year, but he hasn't been able to do well in the tackling department, especially against Minnesota, when you're looking at Denver as well and the Los Angeles Rams. So if he can clean up the tackling and just be a little bit more consistent, he can be one of the best corners in the NFL if he hasn't already, and just improve his resume and get better and better. But, best game against Tampa, and being able to really improve from the last time he played Green Bay to this time he plays Green Bay in Lambeau. Just whenever the moment gets too big, it doesn't get too big for number 27. And that's what you want out of your cornerback one. And I think that's something that the Eagles fans, including myself, we are very thankful for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They are helping this cornerback room tremendously because when they're on the field, this Eagles defense is so much more lethal in comparison when they're not on the field. Cooper DeJean is really great in tackling. He's one of the best nickel corners in the NFL. Quinyon Mitchell, one of the best boundary corners in the NFL. If they're able to get another solid corner, whether it be Michael Carter, whether it be Adoree Jackson, if he steps up and just gets used to this system for Vic Fangio, this Eagles defense can shut down wide receivers, and it can be hard going into the playoffs where if we get home field advantage, it is a wrap because there's no way that I'm seeing Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean let up any sort of separation between the top wide receivers in the NFL. But it's going to be a big test. It's going to be a big test against the Detroit Lions because they're going to throw a lot of different things at Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They're going to have Jamison Williams. They're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They like to do a lot of motion. So the Eagles are going to have to be ready for it, but I'm going to trust number 27 and number 33 to really shut down this Detroit Lions team, and it's going to be a dogfight on Sunday night. But that's going to do it for another edition of Eagles Digest. Wanted to raise this question to you guys. Is Quinyon Mitchell the best Eagles corner in the last 10 years? Comment your thoughts down below. What do you think about Quinyon Mitchell and his resume so far in only just his second season as a pro NFL player? Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let's go Birds and fly, Eagles fly.